I am in the kitchen here today, and this is going to be a bake with me style video. So I'm going to just make some cranberry style things today. First off, I'm going to make a recipe that I do actually have a full video for, and that is cranberry bars with cream cheese frosting. So if you have seen that video already, you can just skip ahead. You guys know how to do that, right? You just hit the L button if you're watching on a computer. That'll skip ahead by 10-second increments. Or if you're on like a touch screen, you can just double tap the video and like to the right hand side of the video, and that also will skip you ahead. Okay, Joe's singing in the background. Yep, he's over there singing and dancing to a little Duck Dynasty over there. You got out a photo album. Okay, all kinds of things are happening here. So like I said, we're going to start out with the cranberry bars with cream cheese frosting, and so I am going to just get the oven preheated for 350 degrees and get out all my ingredients. Alright, so that is it for cranberry bars. It's so simple to put together. I'm just going to throw in the chopped walnuts and the cranberries, and then we're going to get it spread into a pan. I think that I have mentioned this before when it comes to cranberries, but a lot of recipes call for cranberries to be sliced or chopped. I do not. I just throw them in whole. But we like to get that nice bite of tartness. Here. Here. I don't think it matters, but I always bake my cranberry bars in a glass pan, and I think the only reason is because I have a lid for it. So since there's frosting, I just like to have something that already has a lid. Makes it easy. When using frozen cranberries, it does stiffen up the dough quite a bit, but don't worry, you can just press it into all the corners. So I just kind of quickly push it into the corners. It doesn't even have to be in real well. Once it's in the oven will heat everything up and help it to spread out and fill in nice and smoothly. Cranberry bars. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes until the top is nice and brown. It is one of those days where I just have to bake. You guys, do you ever get that feeling? It's just kind of like cold and windy outside. The leaves are blowing everywhere. Well, that is just the kind of day that we're having. And so I thought that I would make some recipes today. I don't know how many I'm going to get done here today, but I want to share some fall style baking, and just these are all going to be just sweets, okay? Hopefully I'm not going to eat too many of these, and that my family really likes them all so that they can eat them up before I do. So the first thing that we're going to make here is something I'm adapting from a cookbook. This is brand new to me, and this one is called apple strudel. It's actually, I'm going to make it CRAN-APPLE because of course I have to put cranberries in everything. So I'm going to do cranberry apple strudel, and let's see how this works out. recipe starts with 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of brown sugar, a half cup of oatmeal, and a dash of salt. And then I just mixed everything very well to combine it all. Melted up myself 3/4 cup of butter, and then you can see I just kind of drizzle that in and then stir very gently. You really want to be careful when you're stirring this to not overmix, because the more you mix something with flour, the more that gluten starts to work and it can start to kind of toughen it up. So I just mixed it gently until all of the butter was like soaked up by the dry ingredients, and it just resembles very coarse crumbs. So the recipe calls for a 10 by 14 pan. This is 10 1/4 by 15 1/4. Now the recipe just says put on 10 by 14 inch cookie sheet, saving about 3/4 cup for the top. I didn't necessarily know what put on meant, so you can see I'm just sort of spreading it in there. I'm not packing it into the cookie sheet. I'm just kind of just pressing gently, trying to make sure that there isn't any cookie sheet showing through. Like I said, I'm going to change up the recipe from just apple strudel to apple cranberry strudel, and so I used 3 large apples, really big Wolf River apples, and then I have in here about 2 cups or so of frozen cranberries. These are from last year's harvest. It's already harvest time again, so I could zip out there and pick some fresh ones, but I just wanted to use up what I had in my freezer. It says cook apples, water, and sugar. So I'm going to put in 2 cups of water in here and a cup of white sugar. So I am noticing that this recipe is quite vague. It just says, when done, thicken with cornstarch. So I'm guessing what they mean by when done is everything should be cooked and soft. As you can see, I didn't slice my apples as you normally would for like an apple pie. I just chunked them up because they're going to be getting cooked down anyway, and I do know that the Wolf River do cook down nicely and they get pretty squishy. So here is the recipe. You guys can screenshot that if you'd like. There you go. In my book, this is what done looks like. When I stir it, the cranberries are popping and the apples are very mushy. So I can just, you see that how I can kind of mush the apples. So that's plenty done. I'm going to stir in 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, let it thicken up for just a minute or so, and then you'll see me pour it over top of the crust. And that's what it looks like before it goes in the oven. The recipe says a slow oven. It also then gives me a temperature of 250 to 275. I should have preheated this, but I'm going to go 275 because I do notice that sometimes my gas oven is just a little bit cooler. I'm bringing to a boil a half cup of packed brown sugar and a half cup of light corn syrup. I'm going to continue to stir that on and off until it comes to a full rolling boil. Let it boil just for a little bit there, maybe a minute or so. Then I'm taking it off the heat. Going to add in a half cup of peanut butter and a teaspoon of vanilla, stirring well. You can see over in this other bowl, I do have all of my Rice Krispies and oatmeal. The recipe does call for quick oats. I have old-fashioned here. It always works just fine. granola bars aren't exactly totally a fall style food, but whenever I make a brand new recipe, I always like to make something that I know my family is going to like. I really don't like it when I spend all this time making a new recipe and then we don't like it, and everyone was like excited that we were going to have a treat and then nobody likes it. And although granola bars doesn't necessarily scream out fall to all of us, it's still just going to be a good recipe. So I'm giving you guys this one today too. And I've done it many ways to try to get the chocolate chips to be, you know, like store-bought, where there's absolutely no melting of the chocolate, and I just have not found a great way. I've pressed them, I have put them on the bottom of the pan, then pressed everything into it. That was kind of tricky though, because when I dumped it out to cut them, a lot of the chocolate chips just ended up falling off. I've tried to let my mixture here cool for longer than the recipe says. The recipe says I should let it cool for about 10 minutes before adding the chocolate chips. I've let it cool longer. Then it was too hard to press into the pan because it already firmed up. And I've just come to the conclusion that my family doesn't care if the chocolate chips are a little bit melty and leave like little chocolate lines or little swirls or whatever through the granola bars. So I've stopped worrying about it. So I'm going to put in a cup of chocolate chips and we're going to get those pressed into the pan. This is a great recipe if you want to change it up a little bit. I've put sweetened dried cranberries in these before. I've also done the Honestly cranberry, which are the unsweetened cranberries. I've done that. I've put nuts in them before, sunflower seeds. Really, you can just kind of doctor it up. The key is just making sure that you don't put in too many add-ins, that it dries it out and makes it so that it doesn't, you know, it doesn't mix real well or stay together. If it gets too dry, it won't want to stay together. Okay, that looks good, actually. It didn't really melt much at all. Today is October 3rd. It's the day that I shared a little picture from the page out of my daily devotional. That is the Day by Day with St. Joseph. And today reminded me that life is a struggle and that our goals are not always met for each day, and that is okay. And when we find that happening, basically it didn't say this in so many words, but this is what I took from it. Stop getting your undies in a bundle, Jennifer, and just move on. That's easier said than done, that's for sure. Today was a tough day. We had some homeschool incidences. We got it taken care of. I think I handled myself pretty well without getting too, you know, too wrapped up in it. That's, I think, a great way to say it, is wrapped up, because sometimes I find I just get myself too wrapped up in it, and like too much of it, like I'm almost taking ownership for too much of the problem, and I don't need to take ownership for it. If it's not my problem, it's not my problem. So anyway, this is looking really good, guys. Not too melty today. I'm going to wet my hands with cold water, okay? And I'm just gonna press this in really quick. And here we go. This is another excellent fall recipe. Your family's gonna love these if they love chocolate and peanut butter together, and oatmeal and Rice Krispies, and just all the simplicity and yumminess of those ingredients. There's still 6 minutes left on the timer for the, what am I making? Apple strudel, which I always thought a strudel was like a buttery, flaky pastry with a fruit filling. This is not that, so I don't know where they got that word. Like I said, this is in, you know, an older cookbook, but we'll see how this turns out. I just pulled this out of the oven and it smells really, really good. It doesn't look that much different than when I put it in. It's looking like something that would be delicious served with a little vanilla ice cream, especially if it was still served kind of warm. So there you have it. I will be back with our thoughts on this recipe once we try it. What have you guys been up to?
Well, we like...
You got some soaking wet socks?
Yeah.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
We started through this like little woods we have, and then we got into a bigger woods. We were pretending we were getting chased by Joe because he was a monster.
Oh, Joe was the monster?
He didn't follow us. And then we like got...
Just a minute.
We got to those woods. And then we got through like all the way. And then we got through the horse pasture.
You guys want a granola bar?
No, Peter, Mom already has some for us.
Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Got some granola bars for you guys.
In the middle of one. In the middle of one big puddle. I lost my boot, so now I gotta change. So I have to go back and
get it for her.
And you can tell the
I
water
see.
was deep.
Yep, deep water. All right. Well, it sounds like you guys were having a ball outside.
Yeah.
Apple cranberry strudel.
Peter, bye-bye. I'll be back in a little bit.
Is it the first time you made it?
It is the first time I made it.
Well,
We'll see, right? What else do you want to tell us?
We're also gonna bike down by the island, and we're gonna explore that woods.
Okay.
Because the island's basically all woods.
Okay, you have fun. Good morning. I wanted to give you guys a peek at the CRAN-APPLE dessert that I made. This is what it's looking like. And so my thoughts on this recipe is that I personally am finding it just slightly bland. I really think that it could have had a little cinnamon or maybe a little apple pie spice or something like that. Nutmeg always tastes really good with cranberry things. That would be really good in here too. Just something to add a little bit of, I think, pizzazz. However, I should add that Warren thinks that this is really, really good. I think I don't know if he's eaten most of it, but I know I had a piece, and I think Peter tried it. He wasn't overly thrilled with it. I'd have to ask Amber and Sam. Sam, what did you think of that?
I think it's good.
You like it? Like really good or just a little good?
I want to say it's really good, but I would eat it again.
Okay, all right.
It's dessert. Exactly.
And how about Amber? What did you think of it?
I thought it was good. I thought the crust should be more like firm and more of like a maybe like a graham cracker like crunchy crust.
Okay, something you could actually hold in your hand.
Yeah, like the top that crumble was firm, but I feel like the bottom should have been firm. So it was like okay.
Okay, so the next recipe that I'm going to share with you that just to me just screams fall is cranberry cake. Now the full recipe is called cranberry cake with caramel sauce. However, Warren, this is really a recipe for him. This is probably one of his all-time favorite cranberry recipes ever. And I mean, it couldn't get any simpler. It's supposed to have like just a very liquidy caramel sauce that's supposed to soak into the cake. But he doesn't really care for that so much. So I never ever make the caramel sauce. I know his mom made the caramel sauce and that's how they served it in a bowl with the caramel sauce drizzled, but he always told me it wasn't his favorite part, so I don't ever make it. I'm gonna give you guys a peek. You won't even be able to see the recipe because it's so, my notebook is so greasy. Anybody else have this kind of system for their recipes? I know, it's a disaster, but these are like all my tried and true recipes, the things that I make most often. It used to actually be, of course, connected to the notebook, but it isn't anymore. So I will have to share all these recipes most likely in the description box below, but this is so easy. You really just need like a batter bowl or something that can go into the microwave, and then a wooden spoon. Maria's here, she's gonna help me out. What wooden spoon do you want? You want the Pioneer Woman one? Okay, it's got a pretty little butterfly on it. It's a super big wooden spoon too. So first we're gonna put in 2 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna put that in the microwave for 30 seconds or so to melt, and then we're gonna come back and add 1 cup of sugar, 1 egg, and stir it up really, really hard. Stir it really hard.
Can I crack it?
I'm gonna crack it. Yeah. There you go. mix. Next up is a 1/2 cup of milk.
Wow. This looks cool.
Stir it pretty firmly. Just wait, you need to stir all of that in first. It needs to be all combined.
Mom, I think it's all combined.
Let me see. And then 2 cups of flour. Don't stir yet. Don't stir yet.
Stir?
No. Don't stir.
Now what?
And 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Make sure you sprinkle it all around, okay? Don't stir yet. And then just a pinch of salt. Okay, now you can stir, yeah? I use a pie plate because it just seems to work really well. I did spray this one with a little vegetable spray. Uh-oh, Maria, I gotta go get some more cranberries. You stir that gently till there's no more flour. And then the most important ingredient of all, 2 cups of cranberries. We just leave them whole. I think the recipe might call for them to be chopped up, but I know I told you this 100 times already that we like them whole. So I leave them whole in just about everything I can. I will put the recipe for the caramel sauce as well in the description box below in case anybody wants to use that as a topping.
Can I lick this spoon in the bowl?
Yes, when we're all done here. There you go, Maria.
Delicious.
And like I said, the frozen cranberries really make this stiff, so you just kind of push it into the edges. And then I usually just let the oven do the work as it warms it up. It just kind of levels out the dough.
Mom,
or the batter.
Spoon is long and there are no cranberries.
You don't want any frozen cranberries on it?
I don't like cranberries. Stuff. I like cranberries, but when I eat them plain, this is my face.
Do it again.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
We're going to put this into the oven. Let's see if I can read my recipe.
It's old recipe.
375 degrees. I already have it preheated for 35 to 45 minutes. And I'm going to usually err on the longer side. So closer to 45 typically. But let's start at 35 and watch it. Right, so the cranberry cake was in for 43 minutes and it's nice and, you know, kind of crunchy here. It's still nice and tender in the middle. Like I said, if you like, you know, the caramel sauce kind of thing, or you want caramel sauce, I'll put that recipe in the description box as well. But this is how my family likes it. You can see that when you use whole cranberries, what happens is when they get hot, they kind of explode as, you know, as everything is baking. So you get kind of like the little juice trails throughout, but still, this is delicious. So Emily just stopped by. This happens to be her day off of work, and so she has to do some printing or something like that, and they're not quite at that point where they have a printer yet. So she's out here doing some printing, but the next recipe I'm going to be making for you guys is called pumpkin crunch cake. This is a pretty standard-ish, I think, recipe. I made it years and years ago, and I feel like I made it for someone's, like, baptism or something like that. Anyway, pumpkin crunch cake is kind of like pumpkin pie, but with a cake mix crunch topping. And this is just gonna make the house smell so good. My allergies are really kicked in, so I'm probably not gonna be able to smell it, but I do know that everybody else is gonna appreciate the delicious smell. I lost Maria, because of course Emily's here, so now, you know, I don't rate real high in her book anymore when Big Sister's around. But maybe she'll jump back in and help me out. This is really, really easy, and I'll just kind of walk you through it as I make it.
I definitely will.
We're having the pumpkin spice debate right now.
Like, I definitely will buy it like this.
You don't want to be on camera like that?
No.
Please, can I leave this in? Barefoot, blanket, hoodie, vest. Look at you.
Like, I definitely will have pumpkin spice again, but not
you know it's staying in.
Stuff from that
Okay. Yeah, we just bought. Yeah, well, I say stores all the time.
Don't buy the pumpkin spice from Aldi's.
Yeah.
Coffee creamer.
Yeah, don't. We both, actually, we bought it not even knowing that Emily bought it, and both Amber and I were like, we don't really like this pumpkin spice.
Not that good.
It's this one. Let me show you guys what it looks like. So this is the one. It's that delightfully pure. It says made with real milk and cream. Where's the flavor? There it is. Pumpkin spice. And none of us really care for this so much, but Amber told us
that, like, don't let that, like, diminish your idea of pumpkin, because I like pumpkin stuff, and, like, stuff from coffee shops is good, but that's better. Good.
Okay.
And I'm sure, like, that brand, that fancy brand they have at Walmart, like the Light, I'm sure they're pumpkin.
I think there's some other pumpkin ones, yeah, so we're not really liking that. But now we also bought Danish butter cookie. We like that a lot.
Is that at Aldi's?
Yes.
See, that does sound good.
Danish
I was going to buy the hazelnut.
Hazelnut's good.
Yeah, but then I saw the pumpkin. And...
All right, we have to get back to this cooking thing here. So what I have is a can of pumpkin open, and I have my can of evaporated milk open. I need to have, I'm just getting out my spices. So I have some ginger here. We need some more light in this kitchen, but I don't have it. It's kind of a dreary day here. So I have the ginger and the cinnamon out. I do have to get out the nutmeg. Let's see if I can find that. It's cloves and some nutmeg, which I'm just about out of. Okay, and there's the nutmeg. And some sugar, white sugar and brown sugar. So we're going to pull out the brown sugar. We're going to pull out the white sugar. A lot of times I like to pull out all of my ingredients at once and then put them away as I use them. Right now my kitchen counter is a little bit overrun with stuff, so it's getting a little tricky here, but we'll make it happen. I just pulled the pumpkin crunch cake out of the oven here, and the recipe said 45 to 50 minutes. It did indeed stay in for the full 50 minutes, and again, this can be served warm if you like, you know, kind of like a warm pumpkin dessert. I think I'm more of a cold pumpkin dessert, so I'm gonna let this chill, and then I think when I go into town today I'll pick up some Cool Whip or something like that. Or maybe I actually have some cream. I don't know. Could put some whipped cream on it or some Cool Whip, something like that. So anyway, this is definitely, I know this one is going to be a winner. And of course we have the cranberry cake over here. Warren and Sam were already eyeing that up. Okay, so I may or may not have just eaten an entire row of the pumpkin crunch bars. Those, let me just say, it is so, so good. And I thought that I wouldn't like it warm, so I just cut like a little teeny piece. It was so good, and I just couldn't stop myself. So warm or cold, they're really, really good. Good morning. Today we're going to make caramel corn in a bag. I know that I posted about this over on Instagram a couple weeks ago already, and so many of you said, yes, please share that recipe. And this is something that, boy, I remember my grandma making caramel corn in the bag, and I did early on in my marriage, and then, I don't know, we just seemed, I don't know if we got a new microwave at one point and it just started to burn or what it was, but we just kind of gave up and started doing it in the oven for many years. And then this fall I brought out that old recipe again and I said, I'm going to figure this out. And so the key is, and I will show you what the key is as we're going through this. So this is super easy. You just need to get yourself a great big grocery bag like this, and I've also found that spraying the inside with a little vegetable spray works really well. And then let's just get going with this. I'll show you what you have to do as we do it. As I do this and you guys see glimpses of the kitchen today, just ignore it. The kitchen is pretty messy today. I don't know, we just didn't get the dishes done last night, and anyway, the kitchen is messy. So basically, you need to have some popcorn. Okay, so what we're going to do here with this 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 stick of butter, and 1/4 cup, I didn't measure, I just poured, of corn syrup, is put it into the microwave. Now, I just want to let you know, this is all light corn syrup and light brown sugar. You can also use in the recipe dark brown sugar or dark corn syrup as well. So either works, combination of both, it doesn't really matter, okay? So I'm going to put this in the microwave for a minute. I'm going to check it. I'm going to put it in for another minute. I'm just waiting for it to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to boil it in there for 3 minutes, stopping after each minute and giving it a quick stir. Okay, while the microwave is going, I just thought I'd get my popcorn measured out here. The original recipe calls for 16 cups of popped corn. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't very much. This here is 8 cups right here. I'm going to pour that. I usually work on the floor. You want to hold that open for me, Maria?
Why do you need to pour it into there?
Because I'm making caramel corn in a bag.
What?
You want to hold that open? What? So there's 8 cups. And then we're going to, I typically do not measure.
On the iPad, and I vlog.
You're vlogging right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm vlogging up there.
And this is not quite actually 8 cups. It would look to me to be about more like 7 cups. But you know what? This is just going to be extra caramely. This was the last of the popcorn because I've been making this caramel popcorn a few times already this fall. And I'm out of kernels.
Popcorn?
I know, you want me to make cheese corn someday. We'll have to find a good recipe and give that a try too. Okay, so I just measure out the popcorn in here, and like I said, if you make too much, really, so what? The first time I made it, I had so much popcorn the day I showed it on Instagram, and it wasn't, each kernel wasn't fully coated, but we still gobbled it up. It was still just tasty, and it actually went further. If you go with the actual amount that the recipe calls for, it doesn't make that much. And, you know, with a family our size, it gets eaten super fast. So I had to put that in for 3 minutes total. That was 2 times at 1.5 minutes to get it to be boiling. Now what I'm going to do, close it back up. We're going to set it for 1 minute. Start. Whoops, I hit clear. 1. We're just going to boil this for a minute, and then for another minute, and most likely a 3rd minute. While the microwave is going, I just got some wax paper here ready so that when it's all done, I can just pour it out onto this wax paper to cool. I just realized that I forgot to add in the salt, so I did quick just open the microwave and throw in an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. You don't want to have too much salt, otherwise unless you like a salted caramel corn. That actually, the last time I made it, I used kosher salt, and it was a little bit more like a salted caramel, which was actually really, really good. I liked it, but the kids were like, I can kind of taste the salt and don't really care for that. So I'm getting out my baking soda and vanilla as well, so that when it's all done boiling, I can put in a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And then this really boils up when you stir in the vanilla and the baking soda. Okay, so I just poured that over. What I'm going to do is roll down my bag here until it's pretty small. It needs to be able to fit into my microwave. And then I'm going to microwave this for 1 minute. Okay, that was 1 minute. And here is the key. You have to look at the caramel corn. Ooh, that's hot. Because caramel corn has a tendency to burn quickly, and that's what we found out in the microwave, that the caramel can burn very quick. So what I do now, and I always thought that I should leave it closed to keep all the heat in, but no. I open up the bag, I give it a good kind of turn, try to get all the corn all mixed around, try to get that gooiness to mix around all of the caramel corn. And roll it back up. Give it a few more shakes. It's hot. And then I'm going to put it in for 1 more minute. Okay, it's been another minute. I'm just going to kind of shake it around. And then we're going to open it up. Again, looking at it, I'm making sure that the caramel corn is not burning. If you look real carefully as you're making it, you'll notice all of a sudden there'll be a little piece that'll look really, really dark brown, almost a little bit of black flecks. That is almost too far. So I'm just going to shake this around again and put it in for another 30 seconds. Okay, it's been another 30 seconds, so I'm just going to give this some shakes again.
Good seafood here, isn't it?
Okay.
Oh, what does Mommy make?
Is today a packer day?
It's not a packer day, no.